The discerning gentleman has a few requirements. Firstly, a respectable wardrobe, then impeccable manners, and finally, a mode of transport that perfectly mirrors one's personality. Because when travelling, one should aim to do so with a certain level of dignity. Grace, comfort, and enough power to get to one's destination in a timely manner. But any form of excess, no. It's too new money. It's too unnecessary. This isn't the kind of image one looks to portray. This, the Classic 650, this may be just the ticket. How you present yourself is everything. How a motorcycle brand presents their bikes is also everything. If I put my bad salesman hat on, I would tell you that this is an overweight, top-heavy bike that's a part spin special with, wait for it, 47 horsepower. Tempted? No. How about this? This is an exquisitely finished, beautifully styled bike with all of the modern practicality and reliability, but with a styling that harks back to a bygone era, made with solid metal, no plastics. That's better, isn't it? 243 kilos. That's a heavy bike with a 650cc twin engine pumping out 47 horses. Nothing there. None of those are ingredients of a dynamic bike. But take a look at it. Effortlessly, timelessly handsome. It's got the rugged good looks of a 1980s Camel or Marlboro model. It also, on top of the good looks, has the level of fit and finish everywhere that would make you do a double take on the Royal Enfield website, checking out the retail price on one of these, because this is just about as high a level of finish as you could ever hope to get. But is it perfect? No. This bike is a compromise. I'll show you the first and very possibly the biggest compromise that Royal Enfield have made here in making a bigger brother for the 350. This is the twin engine from the Interceptor. The first thing you'll notice is that classics have an engine that sits at 90 degrees, bolt upright to the ground. This engine slopes slightly forward, and that does slightly take away from the traditional lines of a classic. And with that, they've had to slightly change the angle of the tank because, of course, you've got the Interceptor engine and you've got the Super Meteor frame in there. So Royal Enfield have had to squeeze and manipulate as much as possible to make the new Classic 650 within the certain guidelines that the frame and the engine will allow. And finally, the gap between the rear mudguard and the tyre is slightly too high. It's not a big thing, but you can notice it. So perfect? No. But undeniably handsome? Absolutely. The first thing you'll notice when you take off your first ride, this is a much physically bigger bike than the Classic 350. On top of that, the 243 kilos and high centre of gravity means that slow speed manoeuvres are not the forte of this bike. And that absence of this single cylinder, full of life, thumper of an engine, the beating heart of a Royal Enfield Classic, replaced by this 650 twin. I won't lie, that has slightly taken away from some of the heart and some of the soul of the bike. But what you get in return is a bike that's infinitely more versatile. Now overtaking at 85 miles an hour is of no issue. Sitting on the motorway if need be for 2 to 3 hours, it can do it in its stride in complete comfort and multi-day continental trips. Well, that's what this bike has been built for. It's the ultimate civilized wafter of a bike. So much so that it even promotes the most perfect posture. Shoulders back, chest out, and sit. Just like that, like a gentleman. Open it up with the throttle. Open it up to 3,000 to 4,000 revs and you just suddenly start to hear that exhaust burble and everything comes to life. Pull in this chunky lever that's perfectly weighted, change through that silky smooth gearbox, and the handling becomes light and playful. Everything suddenly becomes in perfect harmony. This just feels like the perfect, almost regal backdrop for the Classic 650. Some parts of the house here are 700 years old. Let's get down to it, the competition. I'll start off with the barometer of what a good retro motorbike should be, the Triumph Bonneville T100. This is 9,600 pounds with a 900cc engine, 65 horsepower it produces. The fact that I'm even now comparing the build quality of the Royal Enfield Classic 650 to the Triumph, even mentioning build quality in the same breath, shows how far Royal Enfield have come. It is now razor close build quality wise between the two. It's almost hard to separate them. Where the Triumph definitely is a step up above the Classic 650 is the handling, the dynamism, the weight distribution. So yes, the T100 is still a better bike, but would I spend an extra £3,000 to go for the T100 over the Classic 650? It's a really, really close one. It's borderline if it's worth the extra 3,000, but yes, I would just about spend the extra and go for the T100, but that may well be personal preference more than anything else. BSA Gold Star next. It's really difficult to tell even what these bikes are worth because the prices fluctuate so much. It's £5,300, 650cc single cylinder engine with 45 horsepower. This is the difference here with the Classic 650 now. The level of finish on the 650 Classic is significantly higher than on the BSA. So I believe my money would be safer investing the extra money in the Classic 650 over and above the BSA Gold Star. Although again, it's close because the BSA at that price is really tempting and I do rate the bike highly, but that level of finish just sets the Royal Enfield apart from the BSA. And finally, the little brother, the Royal Enfield Classic 350. This is just £4,500 with 20 horsepower. And I rate this bike so highly, I would say that this bike almost defines this entire generation of retro motorcycles. This is a bike that proved you could have desirability and attainability all in one. It opened up a whole new segment of motorbikes to the public, and it's been a complete revelation. But would I spend an extra £2,000, lose a bit of that soul, but have the extra power in the Classic 650? This is so hard because the Classic 350 is one of my favourite ever bikes. If they were both next to each other in the Royal Enfield showroom, my heart says go Classic 350, but my head says, you know, you need the extra power. If you do a longer trip, the Classic 650 is just going to be better. My head is pulling me towards the 650 because I know that that can be my forever bike, my everyday bike, my bike that ticks every box. And I know that sometimes with the 350, I'm going to be in a position where I would like that extra power. But what wins, the heart or the head? I almost feel guilty saying it. I would just go for the Classic 650. I just think that extra versatility means that it's got to be the right option for me. But my Lord, that's a really, really tough call. I'll probably end up changing my mind about 10 times in the dealership. This is a true gentleman's explorer. It's a sleeves rolled up, moustache wearing, port drinking kind of a character. And if I were to pick any bike within the Royal Enfield lineup to take me on a trip to a far off exotic land, it'd be this. This is the best long distance machine that Royal Enfield have ever built. And it's got an underlying toughness that I love about it. A strong inherent ruggedness, the kind that says, what is it you need from me? What terrain do we need to cover? Because whatever it is, we can figure it out. In short, I absolutely love it.